Hello, everyone. I'm not going to start. We know we have 3 minutes, so I'm just letting you know we will begin in 3 minutes. It's our 3 minute grace period.
Hello, hello, hello. That's probably good because, yeah, I'm gonna get a little bit more excited and such. 3, 2, 1. Yay! I'm the only one excited. I hope you are so excited to see your fellow brothers and sisters. We haven't seen each other in a while, and I'm so glad to see all the ones that turned out on this evening. I promise to try not to waste your time, but make every minute count. If that being the case, we did give a 5 minute grace period, and that is probably the most that I can extend as far as grace. Please, when we have meetings, please, services, whatever, try to be on time. Be respectful of other people's time. And also, I like to encourage y'all to continue to do social distance. I know normally we want to huddle up and get as close as we can, but unless you're already quarantined or in the house together, please try to have distance so we can respect each other. I know you walk by faith and not by sight, but the person beside you may walk by sight and not by faith. So try to respect that space. With doing so. So please do social distance, wear your mask, and also try not to touch one another. Okay. And we're going to try to keep that up. And we're going to move forward with that. We're going to open up in prayer, and we're just going to go for it. Amen. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this group of leaders that have come together, Lord, to just find out how we can better serve you, Lord God. And we know we serve you by serving others. Lord, I ask that our hearts and mind become clear, Lord, and our ears and our hearts be open. Lord, we ask that you would speak, Lord, any words that I have thought of, or even things that I had planned to discuss. If it's not like you, if it's not approved by you, Lord, I ask that you remove it from my memory and that I do not even speak on it. So, Lord, I thank you for all your precious gifts in your son, Jesus' name. And the leaders said, amen. Amen. And where do we lead from? Front of the line. Leaders lead from the front of the line. So we are leading in the front of the line. We know we are getting ready to do some incredible things in here. Each one should have an agenda. If you do not have an agenda, please throw your hand up so you can see the order of the meeting that we're having. We need one over here for Evangelist Gail, and immediately after that. So everyone know it's me, and know that this is not an imposter. I do have my black towel, so it's official. And number two, I'm going to deviate from the agenda at this time already. But it's going to be short and it's going to be sweet. Dr. Sabrina Everett, if you would you please stand? That's Dr. Sabrina Everett. I want to tell you now I have my third, but right now I'm going to say my favorite executive assistant. She is holding that role down and she's doing an awesome job. So she is here with us. Yay! And I can talk so much about her because obviously, you know, we have basically 20 years of history. I worked with Townfield City Schools. She was my immediate supervisor for 15 years. And probably the last 5 years we've been talking, and even the last 2 or 3 years that we worked together, she always talked about one day working for me. I don't even like saying that because it don't really work well with me, but she always talked about it, that she wanted to serve and assist me in those last 2 or 3 years that I worked for her. Didn't know that it would become full circle, and now that's the case, and she is making us better, and she's stretching us, and sometimes it's a bit overwhelming. I hadn't told her that, but that's me adjusting, and I needed that. I needed someone to kind of bump me in line, because now she get to worry people throughout the night and send emails and early in the morning and late at night. And, you know, normally that's me coming up with great ideas at 2 o'clock in the morning and texting the staff. But now it's her that's doing it to me. So it doesn't feel good, but I know it's necessary. So I'm excited. We're going ahead on and jump into it. We're going to talk first. Now, we know in 2016 we had a conversation and we had the Lighted Up leadership. And with the Lighted Up leadership, oh, I thought you were trying to flag me down. With the Lighted Up leadership, we came up with one of my favorite things to do, and I do it not only at church, but I did it when I was in Townfield City schools as well as different organizations. And it's sometimes when you get stagnant, when you get stuck and you don't know how to move, I like to do what we call a SWOT analysis. A SWOT analysis simply is talking about your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And any organization, you can do it. It can be your family. You can look at your family and see what your strengths are as a family, your strength maybe as a mother or a spouse or whatever. You can do it in any setting and see what your strengths are, see what your weaknesses are, what the opportunities are that you can capitalize on, and what's the threats that can kind of destroy whatever you're trying to work on. Because I'm a goal-oriented person, I don't do a whole lot with strengths because you know, some people need a whole lot of self-motivation. I don't need it, but we are going to talk about it. Our first thing, we do not have our strengths, do we, from 2016? Is that correct? And we are being recorded. We're recording this here for leaders that wasn't able to make it. But so be mindful of that when we do and say things, that it's being recorded, and actually it's on YouTube probably even as we speak. So it's going out. Our meeting, the first thing we do is let's talk about, can we quickly go over a few strengths that we have, just randomly speaking, in our church ministry, some of the strengths that we have as a group. It's the feel good part. Yeah, that's a good one. I like that one. Trendsetter. Strengths is our pastor, which I definitely have to echo that. Y'all don't agree? You're going to leave her out here on her own? Please do not leave Pastor Shan out here on her own. Thank you. All right, trendsetters. And when I say that, we are leaders in our community, so we're not going to look around the corner and see what they're doing and say we're going to mimic that. We are who we are, and that's all we can be. We don't need to try to duplicate someone that's been in an establishment for 100 years and they have figured their paths out. So we are trendsetters. Do anyone have anything else? And I'm going to just do a couple of more, and we're going to move. Sister Raquel. Prayer center. We're prayer centered. Miss community involvement. And we're going to take one more. I see Sister Michelle. We welcome. We're open. I guess hospitality is something of that. And we do hear that a lot more than we used to. We used to hear like we was kind of standoffish. Now when people come, a lot of times they talk about how they feel loved and how people greeted them and how we are giving attention to those in need. It's also a weakness that we have, but we'll come back to that because I think we may do a good job with people coming in, but once we get here, sometimes we don't pay fine detail to things that we need to do a better job on. So this is some of our strengths. And Ms. Everett, you can just hold for a moment. I ain't going to make you stand up the whole time because we're going to throw up some things that we talked about in 2016, and we're going to do a measuring stick on how we made any improvement or what we see different 4 or 5 years later than we did a few years ago. So what was some of our weaknesses in 2016? Could the AV department help me with that? And I probably should have some. Okay, this was some of our weaknesses, and this is for us to grade ourselves. We had it with this. You can start looking over it quickly, and I will read out. Keeping in touch with lay members and providing communion. You remember I told you some of our strengths is also some of our weakness. We're good, but not great, and we may do good with some of the people, but it's not just consistent all the way across the board. Keeping in touch with our lay members. This has been a challenging time, and this will give us an opportunity to do this. And I want to go ahead and put a disclaimer. This is an opportunity for us to get better, and we have some things that's in place that we're going to try to do so we can get better with keeping in contact with labor. We have just experienced a 2020 like none other. You have never seen a year that even was closely duplicated to 2020 with all the things that we have going on, and especially the pandemic that have caused many of us to pull in our holes and run in our houses and lock up for 8 months. We've never seen this before. In the process, we had to figure out everything. We didn't know. We didn't have any books we could read. We didn't have anyone we could call and say, how do you go through a pandemic as a church? How do you stay connected? How do you stay relevant? How do you continue to feed your parishioners? And the adult part was we grasped a little bit quicker, but how to minister to our kids was quite challenging because asking them to log on to Facebook and just watch the service, that wasn't quite working for them, and we're still in the process of trying to figure out how to do all of those things. Now, something key that we need to do is go back to number one. How do we do this? And it's talking about providing communion. And when I say providing communion, what needs to happen is we had to figure out how to take communion as a church. Not just the individuals that were sick or the ones that wasn't able to make it to church where it was a handful of folk. Now we have all of a sudden our whole membership. How do you take communion in those times? Because it can be quite challenging, but it says, remember this. Do this as often as you remember. So it's something that we need to do often, but keeping in touch with lay members. Now, let me go ahead and put this out there right now. I have, and the staff and different things have, they're helping me and assisting me and urging me to do a job where I try to make at least 15 contacts, a minimum of 15 contacts a week with different ones in the church. That's me making 3 calls 5 days a week. That's what's happening. And I'm doing a pretty good job at it, but I still do it. Some days it may be more because some of it you can't feed and some of it is incoming calls. But me personally picking up the phone and calling at least 3 members per day and saying, how are you doing? What's going on? You good? Okay, how many like that? By the show of hand, how many like the idea that Pastor get here? Okay, now everybody who hands up, you need to do the same thing. You need to pick up the phone and not just wait for Pastor to call 400 or 500 people and get round to it, because even with 3 calls a day, it's going to take a while before you get another phone call. It's going to be a minute. And somebody like, yeah, that's good. You know, maybe you can up that to 5. It's still going to take a while. But what we need to do is go through our contact list. We have the church book directory. Phone numbers are in there, pictures are in there. Folk you don't forget all about, but they still members, I guess, because we don't have a real way of finding out who decided they were going to walk away from the faith for change virtual churches in the midst of a pandemic. We have a paper trail. We see they might log on, they might make a comment, but we don't really know what the membership looks like because no one is calling and saying, I have left, I have given up, I've changed churches, I've lost my faith or whatever. So it's your job, each one of you in here, we need to be proactive and don't just call. See, I don't consider me calling my friends one of those contacts. Me calling my mama, that's not one of those contacts unless something was laid on my heart and I called her as a parishioner versus my mom that day. That makes sense? So we need to, each leader in here need to make 3 phone calls a day and not just leadership. Call the little kids. Is one of the teenagers fall on your mind? You don't know what they're dealing with at home, what they're dealing with at school. Pick up the telephone. Hey, little man, just thought about you. You crossed my mind. Need to talk to you. Just want to see how you're doing. Anything going on with you? And most folk, obviously, Deacon Scott, he do a good job at this here. He'll call me. He's one of the few people that call me consistently to check on me. Not, Pastor, I heard, I want. No, but he's the one consistently pick up the phone and call me, hey, calling to see how you're doing. Most folk, because they're not used to it and because we're trained to be, to put the best face on the outside, that response is going to be what? Oh, everything pretty good. Like this and no, how you really doing? Is there anything that you need me to pray about? Anything that you need to talk about? Then it digs into a little bit deeper. I encourage you, do not spend 2 hours on the phone listening to people drama. That's not the purpose of this. It's to make contact, let people know that you care. Have a few-minute conversation. If you need to, write down 3 questions before you get on the phone that you'll like to ask that person. And truthfully, you can ask all the people the same questions. Okay, did I spend enough time on that? One of our 3. Next, accountability. Accountability, we know we're getting ready to go into a series now of accountability and discipline, and we're going to talk about it. We need to be held accountable, and this is one of the ways we are being held accountable. This is a weakness because I'm a person, I do not like jumping out of bushes. I don't like sitting on the hood of your car waiting to see what you're doing, where you're going. It's a hard thing for me to micromanage people. But we do need some level of accountability. If you're a leader, you need to have some level of accountability, and we're going to talk about accountability even with friends and up-and-coming messages. We need accountability. The next one, systems and consistency. Woo! I am happy to say we have a team of 4 people. I'm trying to see if all 4 of them, yes, all 4 of them in here today. We're going to ask Sabrina Everett, wave your hand. Crystal Smith, raise your hand. Pam Gardner, raise your hand. And Raquel Mitchell, raise your hand. Well, what I have in front of me is 90 pages right now of, I told you my kids love calling me. They love it. They love it. I promise they love it. Yeah. I can't even hang up on them. Okay. All right. 90 pages of what we just saw, systems and operation. This is our standard of operations manual. With this here, it is not ready for you yet, but it is coming down the pipeline. By October, we should be in this book. You should be able to access this some kind of way electronically. And what it is operations manager. What we do, how we do, who you need to contact. What happens if somebody fall in the church and hurt their hip? What if somebody decide they want to make an accusation against different ones? The form you need if you need products, you need bathroom tissues, all of those. What we operate. And you know, the church, I told you a long time ago, we pretty much got Sunday 11 o'clock figured out. It's all the other hours in the week that still function in church business. If you need transportation, if you need to call someone that's sick, it's our operations manual. They are doing a wonderful job at it. I get to just say yes, no, like, dislike, or whatever, and they get to do all the hard work, and I just get to get the glory from it. It is so great. That's not exactly how it goes, but they really are. They are doing the work with this. They are working as a team and collaborating. And really, look, it's stuff on the pages. It's really stuff in here. So we're getting this. I am excited about it because it said if we don't write it down, it don't count. And we have a whole lot of practices, but we didn't have a whole lot of procedures. We didn't have a whole lot of protocol on how we did things. We just kind of call the main officer, ask Jay. That was our system. Number 4, I think it is. Too much labor on too few workers. We still have that problem. And one of the things that we need to figure out how we're going to combat that, and we're going to go through this here in a minute where we throw some things down. Too much labor on too few workers, and that's what we're saying. You have to find yourself busy. And in the prayer you heard that we serve God by serving others. Well, you need to figure out what your place is in this season. Every one of us have something to do. It's not the same thing necessarily that you did 20 years ago, but you should be doing something other than just enjoying church services. Okay. Outreach. We're better than we were 5 years ago, but we're still not where we need to be. We're far better than we were 5 years ago. 5 years ago, I don't even know if we had a direct outreach. We just kind of said, street witnessing, that was outreach. But there's so many other pieces that we do. Someone said we do a lot in the community. That's outreach. See, you have to understand not everybody just going to come to the church and say, I want to be saved. That's not how that works. You see, you notice how much time Jesus spent at a well, in the street, at the river, at the gate, all these different things. He did those things. It wasn't in the church. And we have to realize, how can I serve God outside of just being on the praise team or being in the choir? It's other things, not belittling that, but that's not the only way you can serve God. And the last one, life skills. This will fall into our small group. And what I mean by that, our motto around here, loving the lost and equipping the found. But when you dig deeper into our vision and our mission statement, when you find out that we want to love the whole entire person. Life skills, we need that. Sometimes we know people in our lives, they may love the Lord, but their finances are out of whack. They may love the Lord, but their relationship may be on the brink. We need to figure out life skills, how to do that, and small groups, which we will reintroduce in October. And you can put this down with this. And October the 23rd through the 25th will be our Founders Day celebration weekend. October the 23rd through the 25th. You'll find out more information as it goes. Obviously, our leaders lock out on your calendar. We're probably going to have a workshop from 9 to 2 like we did last year. And anyone who attended it last year understand it. It just seemed like it was long and drug out and boring. We had actual stuff that helped us, and then the pandemic came. That was able to help us. So put that down. That'll be on the 24th where we do that. The 25th will be our service, and we are going to do something either the night of the 23rd or the night of sometime during the 24th where we have an activity that we can do together, social distance, but able to fellowship with one another as well, somewhere during that weekend. But just to be safe, put it all out October the 23rd through the 25th. What was the last thing that I saw on weaknesses? Life skills. So what I was saying is we'll have small groups introduced again on that. Our small groups will change, but some of the groups that you've been asking for, some of the groups that you've been wanting, it's going to be there. We're going to have our men. We're going to be doing some things together. We know our married couples and different things, but we're going to have some other taboo things that may seem a little scary, but we're going to deal with it, and we're going to figure out how to do it in a pleasant way, how we can bring someone along to understand that maybe the decisions they're making in life is not the best decision and what they need to do to get to a better place. And I'll just talk about it. It might be, I use this here for instance in we're talking about, it's going to be Greek life in God. That's like one of the things, Greek life in God. What you mean by the Greek life? Nobody don't believe in all that stuff. I'm talking about if you're in a fraternity or sorority, and how you blend that with God. Is it taboo? Is it wrong? Is it right? Is it too much? What the myths are the truths that's behind it. We're going to have a small group for that, because you may be a Greek and you don't really advertise it because ooh, that's in church. I don't know what to do with that, and different things like that. One of the other ones we're going to talk about is the initials. That's the best way I can call it. Anybody know what the initials are? Not you. Anybody know what the initials are? LBGQT dot ABC. It's talking about those things because guess what? You can stick your head in the sand and get mad just because they show a scene on TV with lesbian gay. It's here. How the church deal with that? Do we take that and make it all together of something that is indespicable, is so awful, but yet instead you living with your boo? You understand what I'm saying? We got to figure out how to love them as well and show the love of Christ, even though it may not be your sin, and you might think it's worse than yours, but you lie on your taxes every year. I'm just saying. Oh, okay, I heard somebody. So we got to figure out how to do that in a ministry form. And it's going to be small groups, but we're not going to single them out. We're going to talk about people that feel rejected. Because guess what? They are rejected. And it's not for the church to do that. It's for the church to love them where they're at and get them to a better place. It's for the church to say, he who is without sin, cast the first stone. And then by the end of this time, you say, go and sin no more. But you can't start out with go and sin no more and you ain't never developed no relationship or anything like that. So, okay, so y'all get it. So life skills is one. Our next one is our opportunities. Opportunities. And I'm going through this review for a minute. I'm fast talking because I do have a cutoff time. Opportunities, doing better with our youth. Remember, all of this stuff was 5 years ago. Where are we now? Our youth department, where are we with that? Closing the back door. Anyone know what closing the back door is? The revolving members. They join the church, come up here, the preacher hand God their heart. They walk out the door. You see them maybe no more. You may see them 6 months, and then they disappear. And it's like the membership, like we got the same size membership, but we keep seeing people join the church. Well, then that's because while others joining, someone else is leaving. Someone is joining and the others are leaving. We got to figure out how to close the back door. I think small groups and different things like that going to help because now we can have a personal relationship with someone that's in a group of 10 or less versus trying to make sure everybody in church is by eye gate. Yeah, they look pretty full today. I guess everybody here. But yet instead somebody hadn't been here in 6 months. That kind of thing. Witnessing. Now, we have different form of witnessing because we understand that we have minors ministry. We finding those diamonds in the rough. But witnessing is more than knock, knock, knock. Now, there's nothing wrong with knocking on doors and different things like that, but that's not the only form that we need to do. We need to be daily witnesses in our life and whomever we come into contact with, so let's keep that in mind. Grooming leaders, that's what this meeting is for. Next thing, and this will give me another segue to give an announcement. Grooming leaders, I am trying to position you that you can do more, be more, and your ministry can be bigger than you ever imagined, even in this church, and even if it requires you to leave the church. And I know most pastors wouldn't say this here, because God have called you to something else in this season. I'm not bothered by that. I'm bothered because you leave with an offense. Because you're not doing ministry when you leave an offense. You're going to do your own thing. So if you need to open up if we need to open up a satellite church in Wyoming, because God have called you to Wyoming and your job had transferred you, and now you have positioned yourself to be in that place, we need to write this down because we're all going to need this book. Starting January, we're going to start leadership meetings once a month again. We used to do it and we got away from it. The first book that I'm almost positive we're going to start in is 21 Infutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell. And we're going to go through all the laws of leadership. Because right now, I read a lot. I read a lot of different stuff. And more times than not, I'm reading several books at a time. I seldom read a book from cover to cover. I'm reading different things at the same time. And I assume, and it's my fault, that leaders do the same thing. And so, therefore, I didn't necessarily present it to you all because I was assuming that you want to get better, you sharpen your own skill, but that's my fault. I should have did a better job of presenting things to you all, bringing us together and making sure we walk in a walk together. In 21 weeks, after 21 chapters, you ought to see so many areas that we can improve on and us as individuals can improve on to be better. John Maxwell, 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. Oh, yeah, thank you. And the workbook. It's a workbook that go with that as well. And I have them around here somewhere, but not. I don't know. I don't know if it's home or in my office. I could show you the book. I'll try to, but you can just Google it, pull it up. John Maxwell, 21 Laws of Leadership, and that's going to be close enough. It'll find the right information. It's irrefutable laws, but that's what it is. Y'all got that? So in January, we're starting leadership up and we're going to try to be consistent when we do this here for 1 hour per month. Leadership get together, we work through this, get to a place so we can sharpen ourselves and be better at what we do. I know you're zealous. I know you love the Lord, but yet you're not seeing the fruit that you know you should see. It may be we need to figure out another way of displaying or presenting the gospel or the things that we need to do to better ourselves. Because more times than not, we look in a mirror, we don't see ourselves, we see others. And that's sad. We look in the mirror, and while we're in the mirror getting ourselves together, we're doing all this makeover, and we're thinking about who we need to fix and who we need to correct and how we need to do it, and we're not even paying attention to what's going on in the mirror. We need to figure out how we can get better so we can minister to our loved ones. You can go to a family reunion and 5 people get saved. Now, that's a good moment right there. Just because you have these tools. Continue. 7 touches, we're reintroducing it. 7 touches is us taking care. This is going to help with closing the back door. This is going to help also with when people come in between one Sunday when they get here and the next Sunday when they get here, how they have been touched 7 times by Disciples of Jesus Ministry. From the greeters, from the parking lot attendants, to when they walk out, to a phone call, to a text message, to whatever those things look like between that Sunday and the next Sunday, so they can understand there was notice, there was love, and they say, this is somewhere I want to be. That makes sense? Okay. Serving others. Everything we do should be about service. Everything we do is about service. When you wake up in the morning, whether you're going to your job or whether you're going to the refrigerator and making breakfast for the family, it's about serving others. That's what we're here for. We're here to serve others. If we truly embrace that, we will not be in our feelings as much, because it'll overwhelm you about how much you can do, and at the end of the day, you're completely exhausted because you want to do more, but you just ran out of hours to do it. Serving others. Opportunities. Threats. I think we're better, but I'm not certain. And the reason I say that, because I don't know, we haven't been around each other as much, and I'm sure I don't catch as much gossip as some of you, because most folk ain't going to come to the pastor and talk about the other members. And they may have their own little group that they talk about with. Discord. Discord is intentionally setting roadblocks, stumbling blocks, and tearing things up. Listen, we got to hold people accountable with what they say, and you got to hold yourself accountable to what you listen to. You have to be very careful. Be that person. If you can't speak up, at least be able to learn to walk off. I will hope you can say that's not right. We shouldn't be saying anything. But have you called and offered help? Are we praying for them? What are we doing to help? But if you can't do that, just find your way out the conversation and not engage in it. And don't just say you're sitting there, you're trying to get the report so you can let us know what's being said. No, don't play a part in that. Don't be mistaken for being a part of it. Discord. Not in love with Christ. When we fall in love with Christ, guess what? You'll find out that your mentality and the way you think will completely change about people. But when y'all in light with Christ, you ain't quite married to him. Y'all just kind of kicking it. Y'all might have got to the dating stage, but you still ain't sure about that thing. But when you fall in love with him, when you're married to him, it changes. And if it didn't change, I'm wondering about your marriage. Okay, all right. Not willing to change. And I know some people saying, man, that's a whole lot. That's great. I remember back on Wright Street. Me too. I remember Wright Street. It ain't working. Wright Street ain't working. And somebody say, yeah, but y'all so big, worried about that growth. Every time I seen Jesus, he was worried about growth. He was always looking at numbers and counting. And that's how he knew how many he fed. That's how many he was always. He even criticized a person that got their gift and just sat on it. He was always about growth. And somebody say, yeah, but them big churches, they ain't right. I found out them little churches got some mess in them too. I found out. People, wherever people gather, it can be quite messy. Am I working with it? Okay. So that's what I want to talk about. So what we want to do is we talk about we have to be willing to change, because things around you are changing. Your clothes size change. your appliances change, the amenities in your car change, and you love your new car. You got your car that crank up when you want it to crank up. You ain't got to pray your way through it. 18 miles. You got all of that, but then when it comes to the church, I'm like, I don't know now. I don't know about all that. Listen, I'm telling you, it's highly unlikely that your kids or your grandkids going to come the same way that you came. And if you don't learn how to make the adjustment of the change, you're going to lose them. So we have to be willing to do it. I love the result of change. I don't like the process of change when it make me have to. And that's what it is. We love the result from we love the microwave and the iron that you can actually plug up in the wall. You ain't got to stick it in the fire. How many we could show our hands? You didn't do it, but you know about it. You know the iron that you had to put in the fire. But how many like the option that you can just plug it in the wall? And it come on, and guess what? I know you forgetful, and I know we busy. And guess what? Now the iron, them things are shut themselves off. They've been doing it for a while now. Don't you like that? Well then, why not like and change in the church when we need to grasp more folk for soul winning and different things like that? Okay, that's what I'm saying. We're running fast, not knowing the vision. We'll have to put it up again and again, and maybe by the end of it, for the ones who haven't seen it, but all of us should know what our slogan is. We should know what our mission is and what our vision is. We should know these things. You shouldn't have to guess. I don't really understand what Pastor's doing. Every time you read the mission or the vision, you should be able to understand, this is what he's doing. This is why he's doing it. That's the whole process behind it. You can always, if you get lost down the way, pull out the road map, look at it. That's why we changed it. This is why we're doing it. Why? Because we're trying to reach the entire world. You go out person by person. That's the whole purpose of it. So when we see it, priorities, keeping our priorities straight. We can't measure on the minor and minor on the major. We understand that everything is still about Christ, but it's just the matter we do it. But we can't make all of a sudden auxiliary the reason that we come to church and the reason that we do what we do. We got to remember our priority is we serving Christ and the thing that we're doing. So when you get upset with your auxiliary because now they want you to be on time, now you all bent out of shape and feeling some kind of way, keep the priority. The whole thing is we want people on time so we all can learn this together, get together, we can move on. Does that make sense? Okay, thank y'all. Now, we're getting ready to go through some of this. Now it's time for you to talk. If you would, if you have something, when we put this out, I want you to come up and we're going to throw it on the board. We're going to go through. We went through our strengths because we didn't have it. We talked about some of our strengths. We will try and cover that again. And the bulk of this is going to be talk about the SWOT analysis. But right now, we want to talk about some of our current weaknesses in the church. Anyone who has anything, remember to be respectful, be mindful that we're not trying to offend anyone, but we want to walk on a level of truth as well. What are some of the weaknesses that we have at Disciples of Jesus right now where you see us a weakness where we need to do better? Yes, ma'am. Okay, if you would, explain that to me. And we're going to try to get five things on each category because we could stay here all day doing different things, but we want to get something that we can find meaty. What you mean by that? They got you. There it is.
Things that have been planned for the youth, we have not had youth involved. And we have to remember that we need buy-in by the parents or grandparents or guardians for these things to be able to work because they can't get to the different places. They're not the ones that are logging themselves on or maybe knowing about the information. So we have to make sure that we have a buy-in because our youth are the next church. And if we put nothing into the next church, we can't expect anything out of them.
I love what she said. I just would like to make one correction on it, and I only would do this because this is my wife, and I pay an extreme price to be able to do this. You can take it, thick skin. That's one of the things that I love about her. She have thick skin. She can take it. They're not just the next church. They're the now church. Because you know who's going to win? Their classmates, not you. They're gonna win their classmates. They're gonna bring their classmates to church. So it's the now church. And if we continuously think of what they're gonna do 20 years from now, we're gonna miss out on opportunities now. And I just did a devotional for FCA, and I said one of my least favorite words in the world is next. Because we have a tendency of procrastinating. We're talking about next year, next time, next week, next this. No. What about now? What about that? So, but I did hear her say, we need buy-in from parents, guardians, whomever, with these kids. If they supposed to be on a Zoom meeting so they can get a Bible study lesson, well, do the same thing you do with them when you have your child at virtual school and they don't want to get on. Drag their butts in there and say, this is what we're doing. It's time for you to get something in here. That makes sense? If we having a project or something going on, guess what? It's your responsibility. The same way you get done to football practice, you need to make sure they get to the church. Buy-in. Okay, what's another one? A weakness. Oh, come on now, we can be honest. We ain't that good. I promise you, we're not. We got another one.
Slothfulness or being comfortable. I think a lot of us now have found ourselves in a place of lull and kind of comfortable, and we are not connected. We're not getting on. A lot of people have become bedside Baptists. Um,
We're going to rewind on that because we're going to find out how many people that have a fear of coming to church and COVID, and how many people that don't find it real convenient to drink coffee in their night clothes and do virtual. There's two different things. If you really do have a phobia and you're mindful of those things, but yet, if you're going to the football game, you're at Walmart, and you're out there hugging, that you're not afraid. You just don't want to come to church, and you don't. That's two different things. Oh, see them out all the time. Pastor, I don't know. I'm scared. You at Walmart. You ain't scared. So, slothfulness, too comfortable. Someone else. I need someone else to be honest. Yes, sir. Pastor Jenkins. Too soft as leaders. Okay. And I understand. What he was saying is, it used to be where people used to be, what's the word I want to use? Convicted. When a leader said something to them or the word said something to them, they would have conviction. Now we have turned conviction into offense. I'm offended. Now we have to be mindful how we talk to people. But come on, if you're a leader, you got to have thick skin. You can't lead. I'm telling you, it's going to be some fallout. Not everybody going to agree with your decision. But if you're going to lead, you're going to have to what? Lead. That's what you're going to do. And where do leaders lead from? The front. Okay. Too sensitive. Anyone, I see your hand waving. Not enough help. And we're coming right at you, Minister Williams. Unmask. Okay. come, give me 1 minute. I think I see your pen waving me down. Okay. I see one pen waving me down, so we're going to do +1 on this. We got 5 + 1. But I want to speak on that. And this is something that I was challenged with. Because remember I told you before I started trying to work on you all, I'm trying to work on me. And something that happened, I was sitting down with a gentleman. We was talking about leadership and different things like that. And he's actually the former pastor. I'll just be honest because it's not anything bad. He's the former pastor of the Heritage Church in Moultrie, the largest church in the county. And he retired. He walked away on his own and different things like that. Started out as a Pentecostal pastor. He said he pastored 50 people for 10 years. And then God just began to move and shift, and he did some things with his skill set, and it began to change. Well, when he said that, he showed me something, and it was kind of remarkable. But he's saying, and I know all of us, we may run with folk, and we think like, man, they're not good. Ooh, that's a 3. That's a 2. Like, man, they may be a 4. And it was like this. But he began to talk about it. He says, people that's a 5, like on a scale from 1 to 5, guess what they attract? 1, 2, 3s, and 4s. A 6 and 7 won't stick around, and an 8 and a 9, 10 won't even come around. Y'all ready for that? So he began to talk about, he said, you have the spouse you deserve, you have the church you deserve, you have the job you deserve, you have the position that you deserve. Whatever's in your life, you got what you deserve. So if you feel like you got a 5 as a spouse, that means you probably round that yourself. They say, wait a minute. You say, but I do a lot of great things, but is it the great things that your spouse needs? Oh, man, I'm finna help you out. Now, I'm going to do a little math here, and I want you to see something this way. And they're saying you got a capacity. I know you can't see this, and if I would have thought about it earlier, I would have did it. Let's just say I'm a 5. And if I do 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, my capacity is basically 120. That's my capacity level. Y'all see what I'm saying? Now, let's say I get some skills and I decide I want to further my education, do what if I want to do, but I want to be better, control my temper, whatever that thing is. And now I'm a 6. Now I do 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, obviously, and it comes out to 720. Now my capacity is 720, simply because I moved up a number, so therefore it gave me a greater capacity to attract. You understand what I'm saying? So it's not everything on everybody else, how they need to get better, but you start attracting a different quality of person when you move. That makes sense? So that's what the diversity plea. We can have more of those folk when we do a better job. I'm sorry. It was one more that you had. I don't know if we can put it on there. We might do the +1 you had. Did you lose your train of thought? And you know, not enough help. And I can understand why you would say Tuesday on the food bank. Do you come Tuesday at food bank? That's why you see it. And the area that we in, we can see needs for improvement. We just have to make sure that we're in a lot of different areas. It's not a shot at you. I'm not by any means. I know what you do around here. But that's what I'm saying. She's visible. But guess what? The same problem you see Tuesday on food bank, every auxiliary see the same thing. At the end, whether it's the AV department, whether it's janitor, whatever situation in, you're like, man, there's so many more of us could be doing it. Whether it's youth department, all of us, so we have to do a better job. Okay, I'm going to move a little bit faster. Now, we did the weakness, strength, weaknesses, opportunities. What's some opportunities that's out there that we need to capitalize on that we have not capitalized on? And it could be, just to trigger your thought, it could be something like community involvement or whatever. What's some opportunities out there that we know we're leaving on the table? Transportation. Says the woman who just got a brand new car with 18 miles on it and already picking up folk. I can understand why she's saying it though, because she just got a car, didn't have transportation, and maybe the other one need a ride. But you driving your car, you don't even see the need for transportation because you got yours. You understand? Okay, what's another opportunity that we can do? We know we're leaving it on the table and we're not capitalizing. Mentorship. I'm glad you brought that out because immediately my mind went to youth, but it's just important for adults to have mentors as well. That is good. Yep. And with that being said, we spent 2 years fussing about what happened, and they already getting ready to devise another plan what's getting ready to happen. What we fussing about what happened. You stop fussing about them sidewalks on South Street. They there now. You better find out what's going to happen next. So you don't be fussing about some new sidewalks that look crazy in the middle of sitting in the road. But that's me on another subject. But so community awareness, and she don't fill up my whole month with community meetings, which ones I accept and which ones I want to sell. We need to be in these meetings. And you say, well, that ain't spiritual. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that later. We're going to get ready to unroll and unravel some of the things, how church, politics, and government work together, and how we can have the whole man. And guess what? It is biblical. You can go from the Old Testament. God was on certain king's side. We need to find out what get God's on our side, what kings and what nations that he was. Y'all ain't read the Bible? This biblical. So we'll leave it alone. Another opportunity that we know that we just, opportunity that we can capitalize on to make sure partnering with other churches, not just being an island. We got it figured out. Y'all figure it out. We ain't got it figured out. Yes, ma'am. Yes. And some of the stuff we'll follow in more than one category. So partnering and volunteering. Okay. Oh, thank you, Miss Evans. You spelling words like volunteerism and stuff. Because I would put a V in some squiggly lines. I love her gift. Got to use a gift. Okay. Now this is real. What are some threats we have that'll cause us to lose membership or ultimately I don't want to say go out of business, but your church wind up taking a tremendous hit that you may or may not can recover from? What are some of the threats that we have that a pandemic, pan, squiggly line. What's another one? I see 3 hands right through here. Lack of training. And I'm going to tell you why we're doing this in a minute. We went through all of this here, and I'm going to show you why we're doing it in a minute. Anita, that's my sister. We're like Levi. I'm sorry, I saw you. Segue. Not offended at all. It's already on the books. We're working on the succession plan right now. Now, I know by what age I want to do something different, but when I say do something different, I'm not necessarily talking about like I just want to go travel, but God called me to do ministry in a different way, and it could be mentoring younger pastors or whatever, but we need a succession plan. Now, that's a longer-term goal, but truth be told, I don't know if I'm going to make it to in the morning. Then what we do? So, not offended at all. That's a good thing. Anita, you came back. Basically, we're talking about the like thereof. If we don't do those things, it's a threat that we wind up losing potential members or members that's already here. Yes. Listen, and I want to tell you why I'm stressing membership so much. Because if 200 people do something, it's one thing. If 1,000 folk do something, it's a different thing. And that's what we have, being united, where we can cause not just, so we can go out. Just think about it. We just say, if we had a membership of 50, and he said, we're going street witnessing. And then, all 50 not going right. So give me a percentage of how many people probably going to show up. 10%. So now we say we're going to take Thomasville, and we got 50 members, and we're going street witnessing. But only 10% show up. So we got 5 people that go out and knock on doors. But just think about if our membership was 2,000. And we say we're going to take Thomasville, we're going to do street witnessing, and we're using the same percentage, 10%. How many people going knocking on doors? That's 200 people that were just released in our city to go knock on doors. That's what the numbers are about. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we won't have to spend as much time in the whole county. And that's what, just think about it. I ain't trying to be funny, but if we put people in place with the heart of God, we won't have to spend as much time arguing and fussing about stuff that they already got the heart of God. We already know which way they're going, so we can focus our attention somewhere else versus keep trying to change Pharaoh's heart to release God people, and then he keep being wishy-washy and everything. But if we just have a David in place, we know David going to listen to the heart of God. We don't have to worry about Saul. Okay. Yes, I think this is the last one. Is leadership basically sowing discord? That's a serious threat. And you know what's amazing to me? They keep showing up. They will keep showing up, but they hate the church. If you listen to them, you'll really think they hate the church, but they keep coming. I don't never say, I don't know, man. I'm folk all that. Yeah, we got church at 6. Let me get on off the phone. Let me go on over here to this meeting. We just have to have these real meetings. Now, thank you for this. Now, I'm going to tell you what we're going to do. All this information that you just got, remember we having a leadership workshop. We're going to take time to get this together, devise a plan on what we need to do to promote our strengths, what we need to do about our opportunities, but we also going to focus on what we need to figure out. How do we get youth involved? So this is not just random talking and throwing. Now we need to figure out how that we deal with having not enough help. What do we do to get volunteers to be a part of that? Or if you have to hire more staff or whatever, that's the purpose of what we just taught. But instead of me sitting down coming up with all these ideas and thinking this is what we need to do, it gave you an opportunity to express some concerns and talk about what our problems are in the church and how do we correct them versus just keep showing up to church either upset at home about things that's going on, but you could easily just speak up and just say, these are some of the problems. Now let's figure out how to resolve them. So this whole process was about resolving our issues at church so we can be a better church. Does it make sense? Okay, we're about ready to shut this whole piece down. Oh, yeah, we got 13 minutes. If you have your cellular device with you, would you please take it out? Joel, you ready? Pastor Jr.? Pastor Davis Jr., you ready for our communication things? So let me do this while you prepare it so I won't have to get back up. Let me give you a couple of announcements, and then I'll turn it over to him, and we'll have our dismissal. On October the 2nd, this coming Friday, we will have an opportunity to get a flu shot. If you haven't gotten a flu shot, the medical professions urge you to do so this year, even if you haven't before, unless you already know that you have some type of allergy. Because they say between COVID-19 and the flu, if for some reason those two couple together and wind up in anyone's body, it's pretty much a fatal thing. Because your body will not be able to withhold COVID and flu. So what we need to do is try to make sure that we're already trying to make sure we don't get COVID. That's why we have masks on and everything. But at the same time, we need to make sure we don't get the flu. And if we can do anything to help that, do so. Please bring your insurance card for the flu shot. CVS will be administering those shots. If you do not have insurance, from my understanding, it's a $25 fee. Most insurance, if not all insurance, will cover this simply because they know how important, and it's going to save them money. Basically investing $25 in you versus you having a hospital bill or an emergency room visit or whatever. So please do so. It'll be here at the church from 10 to 2 or 10 to 2. Friday, 10 to 2. It'll be in an annex area, and so please come by if you haven't gotten your flu shot. Pass the information on because it's not just for our church, it's a community event. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I got you, girl. I got you. I'm going to do you a favor. I'm going to give you the whole 25. Oh, so you just trying to get $20 out of me. Oh, I see you. I see what you're doing. Now I'm finna mess with you. Let's help Sister White. Do I have 25 people that'll stand with me with $1? I'm messing with you. Okay, the last announcement, I told you about Founders Day Food Bank. Remember, this morning, Pastor Shan, she said something about the food bank, but it was from 10 to 12, but the volunteers need to be here at 8. They need to be here at 8 o'clock. We talked about, I have two more. We talked about the 21 laws of leadership, John Maxwell. January, we talked about leadership beginning, the reopening, and this is the last thing that I want to talk about, and I need y'all help on this. We talked about the reopening of the sanctuary. We know we do 2nd and 4th. I was trying to wait to see whether there's going to be another spike in positive tests from COVID-19, and we was talking about originally opening in October, the first Sunday in October, so we can just do each Sunday, or pushing it back to November. I would like to ask y'all thoughts on it, and because I know we're going to get different feelings, so we can make sure we're making sound decisions on what we need to do. How many feel like that we're ready to go back in 4 Sundays beginning on the first Sunday in October, and the next one will be the first, unless something changes, the first Sunday of November. Obviously, we can always shut it back down if things start getting interesting. We have been doing very good with our membership. I know it's a hassle with the mask and different things like that, but we have what we have. I'm not as cautious as some, but one thing I don't eat COVID. What you mean by that? I wash my hands. I don't stick my hands in my mouth. I clean my hand. I sanitize. I do those things. If I know, I try to have some social distance. I don't wear my mask like as much as some. Like now, I know where we are. But if after service, I will have it on when we start engaging. But I want to know how many feel like October, the first Sunday in October, will be a good time, or do we need to wait those next 5 or 6 weeks? Really, all members I don't think many members are not coming because of registration. I think we have a lot of them that were scared in the beginning, now they're comfortable. But that's So I don't think we're going to open up the church and all of a sudden we got an influx. Like everybody like, yeah, I've been waiting for y'all to open up all 4 Sundays. I wasn't going to come until it was all 4. I don't think that's what it is. And it's just opinions. How many feel like we ready to do it in the next 2 weeks? Actually, that'll be this Sunday, wouldn't it? This coming Sunday, we're not ready for this Sunday, I don't think. But maybe in 2 or 3 weeks, or do we need to wait till November? How many, where we at? The floor is open. November, okay. This will be what it is, because it's what we had already said, but I wanted to give you an opportunity to express this. The first Sunday in November, we're going to try to go. We're still not going to do midweek services. We will have some things for children that where they might come on a Tuesday evening or a Wednesday evening where you can drop them off so they can get some things, because that's not, but we still practice those things, you know, and you'll find out about those. But first Sunday, we're still going to practice what we've been practicing in November. But if we see an influx, a spike, the numbers flying up, going up, we'll still put a postpone and hold on it because we're trying to keep you safe. That makes sense? I'm looking at it. We really are not honoring it in the manner that it was intended, because we have folk that do come that didn't register, and we haven't had extreme numbers because, truth be told, our crowds probably look similar to what it is right now on Sunday morning. Maybe 20 more, counting musicians, singers, and all, but the number's been looking like this. I don't have a problem with us continuing it. Where y'all at on it? Do y'all think all of them coming? I think, if I'm not mistaken, we have 130 chairs out. If I'm not mistaken, because obviously, you know, we took out chairs. We took out 300 and some chairs, or however many chairs. So we have this so we can continue to do registration, but still have some flexibility. But if we get over that number for some reason, 110 registered and 50 more came, well, at some point, you know, the doors are locked. And at another point, you understand, listen, we at full capacity, and unless they register, we won't let them come on in, if that makes sense. Because they didn't register, but then they wanted to come. But if there's no one here by that time, let them come on in. But when we get our numbers, we add our numbers. That's with registration, though. From my understanding, even when they come and they haven't registered, their name is still taken. Is that correct? So the names are still taken, even though they didn't register ahead of time. We know who was in the building. So we know how to track everyone down if for some reason you say, listen, you was in church Sunday and 40 people got COVID. I said that intentionally. But then we know how to tell you, you was in that group. I know you didn't sign up. We signed you up. Okay. Well, we've been doing that, and some know that at 11:10, there's no one taking your temperature, no one at the door. You don't have to call or text or try to get in. No, because then the reason I said it that blunt, because I don't want people to have to stand out there just because you don't know how to be on time. They just got to. They can't even enjoy the service because they're waiting on to see who's gonna come at 11:32. No, they don't miss it. No, be on time. Come on. If not, just log on in the parking lot and just be part of it from the parking lot. Yeah, be on time. You know, we can be on time. You make your court date. Y'all so crazy. Joel say, here this guy go again. How you doing, Joel? It's on you. I am finished. Thank you. Joel, going give us some announcements about downloading and where, how we can get the information.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How y'all doing? We just really want everybody to be able to stay connected here at Disciple Peace Ministries. By the show of hands, do you have Facebook? Okay, keep your hands up. So put your hand down if you are not a member of the DOJM leadership community. All right, everybody put your hand down. Sorry. If you have Facebook and you are on DOJM leadership community, raise your hand. All right, let's do this differently. Who needs to be added to DOJM leadership community and you are on Facebook? So y'all, okay. Crystal, can you get their name really quickly? So raise your hand really high. So Auntie, you have your own Facebook page? Really? Okay, well, you're added to that community. Other hands, keep them raised, I'm sorry. The Williams, Tisby, Great, Martin. You say you need to be added? Scott, Gardner, Gardner. All right, so the other thing is, if you have a smartphone, raise your hand if you do not have the Church Center church app. If you do not have that. So everyone has the app? Yes. You don't know if you, what's your question? Yeah. So everyone has the app? Yeah. So, all right, by the show of hands, if you don't have the app and would like the app, raise your hand, please. If you do not have the app, please raise your hand. All right. We can make it happen for you. So I can meet with y'all really quickly, like in the front, and I'll walk you through how to get that on your phone. It's really simple. The Church Center app allows us to do online giving as well as keep you updated with the events that we have at the church. So like tonight, if you're on your app, you should see, well, no, you would have saw it earlier, but earlier today you would have saw an event for Sunday morning service, leadership meeting, and right now you can see the event for the flu shot on there. And also for like this group here, it's a place on it's called Group, and for like leadership meetings and things like that, it's a widget on there. It's the button on there that you can click on, and it'll bring up all the information about the event and leadership group that we have. And then it'll also have like the church sermons and stuff on there as well eventually, but it's a way for us to just stay engaged and updated with information here at Disciples of Jesus. So if you do want to download the app tonight, meet me in the front and I'll make it happen for you. Any questions about the Facebook group or the app? By the show of hands, how do you like receiving announcements? Receiving the announcements via email? From the pulpit? Via text? Via Facebook? So y'all want So just make sure when you go in, make sure your profile is complete, like so we can know when your birthday is. So like put the year in so we can know the demographics here at the church, so we can just know how to serve those demographics. So when you go in, put your full name, your full birthday, your full address, so we can like mail postcards out. Fill it out as best as possible, okay? Like all the information.